What up, everybody? How you doing today? This Saturday. I hope y'all doing great. I know I am. I mean, I'm really pumped and jazzed for what I'm about to bring you. Welcome back to Jedi Granville Productions. Of course, you know me. I am Jedi Granville, and hey, I'm just stoked because this has been a pretty good week. It's been a pretty decent week, I know I've been out of action for a while, but you know what? That didn't stop me. I kept on rolling, kept on trucking, and by God, I'm back in the game again. So here we are, and we're here to do some things a little differently in terms of what I'm presenting to you. This is a segment of my particular, you know, section of my channel called Personal Junk of Favorites, which I take a certain, I don't know, kind of subject or kind of ideal or whatever, and just spin doctor it. And hopefully, some people who are watching kind of feel the same way about it, or at least get some enjoyment out of it because they are quote unquote nerd, geek, or whatever you want to call it, So, but here we are talking about film scores, basically, movie scores that have kind of been an influence or something that we as audience members watch and feel some kind of joy when we hear them. Typically, the theme to Jaws or something the theme to The Godfather, the original Godfather, or something of a theme to like say the original Jurassic Park. I mean the first one. So stuff like that, or even the score to The Omen, which is hits you hard, you know. And that's the kind of thing you want something. You hear music, it's supposed to grab you. It's supposed to bring the audience in when you're watching something. Now, there have been films where they would not have any kind of score whatsoever, no kind of music to guide anyone who's listening or watching, well, it's basically watching the film. But sometimes, that's kind of a good thing because you're following the story, you're understanding what's going on, you're understanding what you're seeing and everything. But there are moments where when you hear music and it just like reaches in and just like mm, pulls you right into the subject that you're watching, whether you're dealing with the characters on screen or the particular action or the kind of, whatever is making, help using the music to make the scene even more dramatic or exciting or whatever. That's the job of a good composer. That's the work of a great composer. And the one composer we're going to be talking about as far as for this particular go around, because it's going to be dealing with 10 of this person's scores that I enjoy, and that is Mr. Akira Ifukube. Probably genius, mastermind, whatever, all of the above. He was all of the above. I mean, that's he like so many others, before him and after him, geniuses. They're geniuses in their craft, and they knew how to make you feel the music that you're watching. And I know particularly him, he did majority of was, you know, Takasasu films, although he did other scores for other, films that didn't have to rely on special effects. But sadly for me, I guess for me particularly, I was looking up the list that I like most of his, and majority of them are dealing with both kaiju and tokusatsu films. But maybe that shows right there how effective his scores really are, because if those are the ones that are memorable to you, those are the ones that stand out the most for you. And it should. That's how it should be. It shouldn't be no, second class hand or whatever in what you're looking at and what you feel that's necessary in talking about something. But right now, let's kind of get into it and kind of discuss the films that, and kind of say why the ones that I have on this list are my favorite of his score wise, and kind of tell you that this is a man who was just that kind of a genius, because there are going to be many more of these kind of segments where we're talking about film scores, the top 10 and the favorite ones of certain scores, because I mean certain composers, because it's coming. It's coming. It's just a beginning. I wanted to begin with this one with Mr. Ikefube. So let's get into the first one. At number 10, and some might think, that's the one you picked for number two. I mean, number 10. Okay, Frankenstein Conquers the World, or in Japan, it's called Frankenstein versus Baragon. This film, when I first heard it, it wasn't. In fact, it wasn't until like late '90s that I actually officially saw it, but really late in the 2000s that I actually officially really watched it through. I mean, I heard about it like maybe in the late '80s, but kind of saw glimpses of it in the late '90s. But when I did actually see it, it's like, oh, this is what this is. But yes, the score for Frankenstein versus Baragon, it's especially at the beginning of it, especially at the beginning when it plays. It's this very kind of sad, kind of foreboding, or I'll just say just sad, but it's foreboding, but it's something more powerful than that. It's something that's like, what are we getting into? What is this going to be? What is this to light here? I don't know what that is, and that's something about this score, that of his that really works well because it tells you in no small feat that he's telling you that there's something that's coming along the horizon or whatever, and wherever it's going with, we don't know. But wherever it does go to, the outcome is not going to be exactly happy because when you watch the film itself, you realize that the character of Frankenstein, the Japanese version, he is unfortunately a tragic character. You know, he has great strength, he has great power, but unfortunately, the world doesn't see him as that. They don't see him as a friend in a sense. They see him as a total threat. And the Fukube's score in this really works well. And it's kind of sad that it is like that, but at the same time, you realize that that's the whole purpose of the music for that is letting you know, like, yes, this is not good. This is not how it is. But moving on to number 9. That was number 10. Number 9. I'm pretty sure anyone who's a Takusatsu fan, you've heard this score many times, which is the first, and it's not the, well, when I say the first, this was like kind of the first widescreen film that was coming out of Toho, and this is if you think about it, this is a masterpiece. This is a masterpiece. Well, it's almost 70 years old. Of course, it's going to be a masterpiece. 1957's The Mysterians. This score that Ifukube created for that. When you first hear it at the beginning, it's like dun 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 dun. It's supposed to give you, it's like it says it's triumphant. It's very, marchy, kind of, military sounding, because the movie's original title in Japan is Earth Defense Force. Okay, so I guess that's to show that that's a kind of military sound that we're hearing at the beginning. First off, when we hear those few notes, and then when it switches to the title, when we see the title, then it stop. I mean, when I say stops, it goes into this like dun 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 dun, and because we see pictures, we see images of a space station, and we hear the sounds of spaceships, This is letting you know that yeah, something's not right here. This is something is like a mist of what's going on. What is going on? We don't know what's going on. And this is a score of his that I think is not when I call misplaced. It's more, what's the better word for it? It's not overlooked. It's more like, it's just one of those you feel like you don't hear too much, I mean, or you don't reference too much. But I, for myself, referenced it a lot because when I first saw it in 2007, I think it was 2007. Was it 2007? I think it was 2007, 2008. Well, it was the late 2000s. I'll just say that. The bottom line is you first hear it, and when you first see the movie, you realize like, wow, the score in here is letting you know how tragic it is, how determined the Mysterians are, but at the same time, how determined the people of Earth are to go against. Because the way it's done, you think like, yeah, I mean, the Mysterians aren't so bad, but in a way, they are doing something that's not a good thing for human society. They want land, about 2 miles worth of it, and they want Earth women, so they can reprocreate, reproduce. I'll say that. Okay, so I mean, I sometimes get tongue tied, but anyway, and the thing about it is the ending of the film, um, the little bit of notes that plays at the end where you hear it, because I won't give away the ending. I won't, like I say, I won't do no spoilers on this. But when you hear the music at the very end, the way it's played, it gives off a very sad, very, is it sad? It's a very sad motif when you hear it because it lets you know that none of this, what the Mysterians were doing, should have came to play, unfortunately. And the Mysterians, use their time. They could have gained something if they had, you know, done what they did, But unfortunately, this is the tragedy of war in a sense. And what's up there, Mr. Kevin Lambert? How you feeling today, brother? Hopefully you're not alone, brother. You're doing fine, Hopefully you're doing okay. Yes. And I like that picture of your on for your channel there, brother. That's beautiful, man. Always stay happy. But yeah, though that's the sad part about the film at the end, especially because that's how effective that score that Ikefube does, showing how tragic situation in the Mysterians is. I mean, they do what they do, but at the same time, you realize like it could have been a better way of implementing what they wanted, but nah, I guess that's not how it is. Something that's how it will be. Um, yes, I have to agree, it is, and you're gonna hate me for this, brother, but that's not even on my list, unfortunately. It's the 54 score of his is not on. I mean, it is. I mean, it should. It seems like it should be. It should be on there. But it's funny how when you listen to something and you go through all the trimmings of what he's done or anyone's scores they do, you well, I mean, hey, that's see, that's the genius of knowing that it's you who knows what you like, and yeah. But see, that shows right there too, willing to know that what's up there as far as both popular, very powerful, and very, you know, foresight in what it is, what is bringing to the table. But that shows right there how someone's, as an artist, how someone's, influence really changes your perspective of what they've done later on, besides what they've done previously. And like I say, Godzilla, I mean, the original Godzilla, you know, could have been on here, but as it turns out, it's not. I'm giving away my list all too early, but I mean, you know what? Kevin already put me on the spot, so I had to say it's like nope, it's not on here. So sorry to tell you, but anyway, we're gonna move on. And like I said, it's you might be surprised what's my top Ikufubi score. You know, when you see it, you're gonna be like, huh, that's your favorite score. All right, we're gonna find out. So, but now, like I say, my experience number 8 is Destroy All Monsters. Now, and this is one of the, and that's I should say, this is one of the few Godzilla films that's one thing about this. Gojira will be on here, but as it turns out, Gojira's not on here, and that should be number 1 or at least number 2. You know, as far as scores, but it's neither. So I'm not gonna give the spoilers away on this. Anyway, basically, Destroy All Monsters. The way it does an opening, the way Ifukube does the opening for the movie, it's a slow, very crisp, you know, kind of like one, and it's building up, you know, and it just like it's like unleashes this energy of what it is, you know, and then you see, you know, the title of the movie, you know, come up in the original Japanese form, come up and show what it's called in Japan. It's called March of the Monsters, but of course it's called Destroy All Monsters, which I think is a better title in my opinion. That's just my opinion. And it's when you hear that, like I say, when you hear this, the beginning of it, when it plays, showing the title of it, comes up, and then when we get establishing information about what year this is, where we at, whatever the thing, then we kick into the score that pretty much has been heard multiple times in other films later on, playing, and dun 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 dun. You play it into that, and it's triumphant. It's very uplifting. It's very, letting you know it's like this is what a score is supposed to get you, because this is a film. This was the so-called end-all be-all of kaiju films in terms of at the time, because it's literally supposed to be the last official kaiju film of that time. But when people want more, well, we got to give them more, and that's how it is. And if Mr. Ikifube does not disappoint with this film. He does some amazing cues in this film, and it's such a blast hearing it. And I, for one, love how he pulls it off and what he does. And it's like I say, he doesn't disappoint. Mr. Honda, Iji Subaraya, not Takarada, it's Tamika, the producer of this film. I'm trying not to butcher people's film names. The Four Horsemen, pretty much were on that air game for this film, and they did a great job in bringing to what we saw as a classic. Nearly 60 years later, and Ikifube's score still top of the list. Well, at least on my list at number 8. But moving on, we're going to another score, which I feel is necessary and one of Ikifube's best. Pretty much all his stuff is best, but if one stands out the most in what you like, this is what this is. At number 8, we have, I mean, not number 8, I said number 8. Number 7 is Ghidra, the three-headed monster, or as it's known in the East, in Japan, Three Giant Monsters, Earth's Greatest Battle. That's not verbatim. That's it's kind of like that, but it's uh, three monsters. But anyway, Ghidra, the three-headed monster. This score is one of the finest of his, and it's a very daunting score. And what's interesting, this score is one that I feel that really is more polished, more refined. Because believe it or not, this is something people will not know if unless you dig deep or have been told this. The score for Ghidra is a more robust, more amped up version of another score that I'm going to tell you, and it's actually at the next one. But for right now, I think it's still a very great score in terms of what it is and what it brings to the table and what it's emphasizing, discussing the three-headed dragon and what his damage control, what his escalation of what he does that shows he's a menace to society. I'm a menace to society. That's what he is, pretty much. I mean, he destroyed Venus, so why not destroy Uranus? That was bad. I'm sorry, but that's what it does, And the funny thing is, when you see the original Japanese cut, the Fuguebass score music in there is so more robust than when you hear the stock footage music in the American cut. I mean, the American cut, some of the music works well, but when you listen to some of the so-called cues and some of the in the movie, you're like, why wasn't it left in there? Like the moment when the investigators, they go up the trek up the mountain and they find a meteorite that's crashed in the valley. There's this really dramatic sound of the score that Ifukube creates, where it's like dun 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 dun, and it zooms in on the meteor, and it's so effective that's played in the American cut, but in the Japanese cut, it hits home so hard and it's beautiful. And to tell you the truth, I wish they could have left that particular piece for the American cut also, but as it stands, no gaga, no gaga, not going. So, and that's just how it is. But moving on to the one score where I said that is a more refined version of Ghidra. I mean, or to say it was more refined in terms of the score being Ghidra, but it was influenced for Ghidra. It's more. But anyway, at number 6 is Varan, the Unbelievable. Varan the Unbelievable. Let me just say right out, I don't know why this film. Yeah, when I first heard about it, I heard about it way back in the mid '80s, and I was wondering why I never saw it until I got it on DVD. I wish I had seen it sooner, But the bottom line is the opening title score for this film. It's a very dramatic one. You hear this because it's effective how it does it. You hear this like, and then it just built, and then it just hits you with like dun 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 dun. And as I say it again, it's a marker, or what you call a kind of what it would be more translucent for Ghidra, but some of the notes that you hear are similar to the Ghidra score, you know. But this one, I feel the reason why I say robust for Ghidra, this is more, and not so much grounded, but more raw, more intense, and showing that here is a creature that we do not know about, is an unknown origin, and it's also something that is very tragic, to say the least, because it is a creature that, like Godzilla, kind of misunderstood, but has no real, but like Godzilla, doesn't have no real special powers. Although it is one of the few amphibian creatures we've seen in kaiju lore. He can walk on land, he can swim on. No, he can walk on land, he can swim in an ocean, and can also fly. So, but when you hear the score for the film, it's a very tragic and kind of sad kind of score, and it helps you, it helps you as the audience be affected by what the whole score of the film, or the tone of the film is, because that's basically what the job of the composer is, to give you the tone, and hopefully the people who are watching pretty much fall in line with that. I mean, if they don't, they're not going to feel the way that they should. And I feel like this is, in fact, I can say now, this is a very sad. This is probably one of the saddest of the kaiju stories, especially during the Showa era, because the creature of Aragon didn't ask to be, what it is. It didn't ask to be in existence, but yet once it comes into, or I should say, once humans invade his territory, then he's like, I got to defend my territory. And, well, push comes to shove. You push me, I'm going to have to push back, you know? So, and like I say, his score for this film is one that stands out for me the most, and it still stands out today. And I didn't see Varan until like the late 2000s, you know, just before the teens started, And like I said, okay, this is why I say this is one of those films that's kind of more on my top of my list as one of those non-Godzilla films that I would do a rewatch over and over again, And it's in black and white, And you think because it's the late 50s, they'd be leaning more towards color, but there were still some films at this time that still use black and white, you know. And I think and I think in a way that actually enhances the tragedy of this story even more, being in black and white. You can't grab that much with the color, You can try, but some people don't do it as well. But moving on to number 5, we're halfway there, people. We're coming up on half an hour now. It's like, I'm surprised. I didn't think it was going to be as long as we did, But number 5, this is got to be one of my favorite of Ikube's scores. And of course, this is another Godzilla film, but this was his last, go around as composer. And I guess he says, I'm going to go out with a bang. And I feel he did go out with this particular score for this film. Godzilla versus Destroyer. What an amazing, amazing score that he created. And let me just say, the one thing that got me, the whole film score is brilliant. But the thing that gets me the most for this film, as far as what really brings you into, or hones you into the movie all around, is the opening title of the movie, which shows Godzilla versus Destroyer. We hear this like, it's like these strings, these melodies, and then when the title of the movie comes on the screen, it's like, dun, It's telling you this is it. I mean, this is the last go around for Godzilla, but it's like it's telling you this is the one. This is what we're going to go out with. We're going to bring you what is necessary for you to feel, and that is such a grabber. And it's like it grabs you so hard, it hits you so good. It's like yes, it's like that's powerful. That's what music is supposed to do. Powerful, bring you in, bring you out, bring you the kind of energy that it's supposed to be doing. And this one is like wow, you know. And then there are moments that splattered around through the film that get you going, get you hyped. Dealing with Godzilla and little Godzilla deals with, and dealing with Destroy and how much of a presence he is. And then I have to say, this is why it's one of my favorite Godzilla films. That moment where you hear the sadness and you kind of hear the you know humanistic voice in the music playing alongside the sound. This is where we hear the death. It's almost the death theme to Godzilla, to him. And you hear it. I mean, and Kevin, if you're watching, this is probably why I don't have. I mean, we know why the original Gojira is famous. I mean, the score is famous. Why it's good. But the score where we see the death of Godzilla, Ikifube again does not disappoint in showing the effectiveness of what he's bringing to this scene where he's dying, where he's overloading, where he's like I say, it's just, and then that final meltdown, and it's just tragic, it's just sad, it's one of the most impactful kaiju moments in film history. I feel it's just like, and like I say, since this was his last moments to being a film composer, well, hey, might as well do something that people will remember me by, and I definitely remember him for doing this. And like I say, this score for Destroyer is one that's just like mm, up there and will not go away. Will always be there. You know. But anyway, let's move on because, like I say, we don't want to get into too much sadness. We want to get keep on pushing on, and we're pushing on to number four. We're getting closer to number one, and like I say, you're gonna be surprised what number one is. When you do find out, you're gonna be like, okay, that's not the one I expected you to put out there. Um, but number four, Ikifube score, Battle in Outer Space. And I have to say, when I first heard the score for this film, you actually hear it in Godzilla versus Gigan. Actually, Gigan, it's a splatter of different scores from past Ikafube's presence from other films, and it's embedded in this, and it's embedded in that film. And I didn't think it was from another film. I thought it was just something new and original and fresh and whatever. Because I saw Gigan in a drive-in and never thought twice about where that score came from. I didn't think about it. But anyway, the score for Battle in Outer Space, or the Great Space War, which is called in Japan, the opening of the score, it's like dun dun. It's I can't do it really well here, but I mean, and it's like dun 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 dun, boom 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 boom, dun 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 dun. Bum. It's kind of like that. I mean, I'm not that good with it like a sound, but anyway, the bottom line is that it's bringing you into something, letting you know that there's something foreboding. And right off the bat, we're right into what you call the aliens. I can't remember. I think they were the whatever they were called. They were short bastards, They attack the space station, and it's a tragic. And then when they blow it up, I know that's spoilers, but when it's blow it up, then the title of the movie comes like. Then you hear this triumphant bit that goes into the next bit of the opening score. It's like dun 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 like that, and like I say, that score, since it was so, I mean, and that's something that all movie trailers do. They take past scores from films and play them in future film trailers, and this one was always effective. And I thought it was from another. That's one thing I thought was it was from another film, but it turns out it was from this one. And and the funny thing is, the film is not as that's one thing about this film. The score, the music, I love. It's all around. Like I said, I enjoy it more than Mysterians. But the thing about it is, I enjoy Mysterians more than this film. Now that's kind of crazy. The music's great in here. The movie's okay, but it's not as good as Mysterians, film wise. It's like it's kind of unusual, you know. So I don't know. As this is weird, but but like I say, you pick and choose. It's always about effectiveness, and you can't fight whatever you like, and if you like it, fine. If you don't, so be it. And that's the thing about this score for this film. It's just like you play it and take it at heart. But moving on to number three, we're getting close to the number one. This one I gotta say is my favorite, and it's one of it's actually my favorite of the Heisei Godzilla films. Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. I look. I don't know what it is Ikefube did, but he really stuck his finger with this one into the score, and I just love the score for this film. I think that's the reason why I like this Heisei film more than the other iterations of the Heiseis that were shown. Because I mean, I like them, but I mean, I like this Godzilla film more for the Heisei time. And the opening score for the film is a very good one, and it's when the title of the film comes up, then you hear this like dun 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 dun. It's not exactly that, but it's kind of there, and what his score is doing, and like I say, the film is just like a robustness of certain moments, and then there's the moment where Godzilla meets someone from his past, and it's like you're my past, but I'm gonna have to alleviate the future now, and blows him up. He plays a little motif during that time, and it's like tragic, sadness. But no, the score for that film is such a brilliant one. It's such a beautiful one, and like I said, I guess that's the reason why I like this score for this film so much, because Ikefube does not disappoint, does not give you any bad connections of what it's bringing out. He's making sure that the audience is invested in the story, and trust me, I'm invested in this story big time, all the way, and I continue to do so. You know, and I'll continue to do so when it comes to scores like this. You know, but on to number two. We're almost done with this. It's coming up to the end. We're coming up to number two, and what's up there, Neenan? How you feeling, brother? Okay, huh? And I'm assuming the author, I mean the author, the composer, yeah. because those are my top. Those are on my top 10. So it's like, yeah, I mean, I love both of those scores. He does. I say he does a great. See, that's why I say, and that's probably why I decided to do this one. This one with him, aside from like maybe say Jerry Goldsmith or John Barry or even Michael Kamen, because even though I love those composers, I like, you know, I like to know that, some people don't talk about certain other composers as much. And even though among the Godzilla community talks about him, you know, we ordinary individuals won't talk about him as much, and that's the thing. So I feel like he would be. I say to myself, I'm gonna do him first. I'm going to discuss him first before I discuss any other composer. I feel like that's tribute to him and honoring him because he is such a underrated composer in my opinion. So, but anyway, going back to number two, and let's see here. Let's go there. Yes, it very much is. That's true. Um, that is very true. Very. Yeah, March. That's one thing about his marches scores, or cues he does. They're very effective depending on what score that he does for what film, and he's very good at that. I enjoy that for what he does. But and yeah, saying that's like I say like I say, yeah, I know music. I know, brother. I mean, don't yeah, you didn't. Yeah, I already know. I know. No, but that's what I say. The when you listen to the music, you realize how it hooks you. If it don't hook you, then you're not going to be invested in the story at all. And this story, in this particular music for what I'm talking about for number two in particular, does bring you in really hard. And that's the score for Rodan, 1956. Oh my goodness, the beginning of the score for Rodan at the beginning of the film is like, okay, you are hooked. You're in for a ride. You're in for something that's gonna really, you know, just it's like hits you, because it's like you don't know what to expect and you don't know what to you're gonna get hit with. And like I say, when you hear that, it's like it just like. And then the funny thing is, you have that added motif of Rodin's screams or his roars embedded in the so-called music. I mean, the opening score there. So it's really gets you in there invested. And when you hear it, it's like you can kind of hear like scariness, just like very, terror in it. But at the same time, you hear some kind of there's a little bit of just like foreboding sadness a little bit. And like I said, I don't know, I don't understand, I don't know how certain people, as far as composers, whether it be a director, whether it be, you know, cinematographer, I don't know how they do it, but they do it very well. And you know, it's just like, yeah, exactly. It's like yes. And the funny thing, like I say, when they do the opening score for the film, it's like it's investing you right then and there. That it's you're about to get on the ride, and then there's that and what's what I love about this film, the music in here, is that there's a moment where, and I got like I say, it's kind of spoilery, where the score starts off slowly and then it just builds up and builds up, and it's a moment where Rodin pretty much takes out a jet fighter, and it starts off, slow. You kind of hear it in the background, and then all of a sudden just builds up, and it's like, whoa, that's it's like, okay, now we're hitting somewhere. It's like, yes, I know that's see that's one see. Now I had to talk about that. Yes, you bring up a good point, Kevin. That shows how really effective Ikafube's scores are. That you've heard them in minus one, of course. You've heard them in Shin Godzilla, and actually heard them in the MonsterVerse scores as well. And that's so tribute to the artist because he has such a grand way of doing his scores. It shows how effective he is and what he does. Um, to be a good mood to listen to them. Well, that's that. Now, you know what? You bring up a good point there, Neenan. It's kind of funny because I know I've listened to. That's one thing about when you listen to soundtracks of movies. Don't listen to the. You don't listen to. You don't watch the film along with the. You don't watch the music along with the film. You watch the music alone, and you see how effective it is. And this is one of the reasons why certain music really hits you and really draws you in, that you're able to buy a CD or play it on YouTube or whatever, and you show how invested that you really get into what that is. Hmm. Oh yeah, it is. It very much is. Yeah, I mean, because well, you got to remember, Mike Doherty. He's an all around kaiju geek. He is that person. He is that mofo that loves those earlier, earlier and later on scores of Ikefube and other various composers. But he's showing his tribute to the scores of the past, and he loves them. It's funny how King the Monsters really invested a lot of what Ikefube did into King of the Monsters, and I'm just like, wow. And I'm talking 2019 King of the Monsters, and I'm just like, wow, he is really making you. It shows how influential his stuff is, and how he does to others, how he affects others. And I feel like that's the thing. I mean, it's very true. It's very influential. Otherwise, you wouldn't touch it. A person wouldn't touch these things. You wouldn't mention it or say something about it. If you did, then it wouldn't be an issue of discussion. Like me discussing this about him, he's definitely worth something talking about. And without him, how else would you have films later on in life like King of the Monsters, you know, paying tribute to him? You know, but like I say, Rodin's music is very special, and I know I didn't see the Japanese cut until like I don't think I didn't see the Japanese cut until like late 2000s. But when you do hear the score is entitled in total togetherness, you realize like now I hear. It's like okay, that's a great one. That's an amazing one, and I love that, you know. So, but what is number one? What is my favorite Akira Kube's score of all time? Kevin's gonna laugh. Oh God, this is gonna be funny. But my favorite Ikefube score, and it is not a big deal, but it is because I know when you listen to this music. Because the funny thing is, when you hear the music in the American cut, all the music that, or no, let me rephrase that. Maybe retract that. All the music, besides a few scenes, are totally taken out in the American cut. But in the original Japanese cut, you hear all his music. And the music for what movie I'm talking about is King Kong versus Godzilla. This has got to be my favorite of Ikufube's scores. And why is that? Well, I feel the reason why it's so, my favorite because I wouldn't hear this score until late 2000s. I mean, it's like I say, well, I mean, look, you kind of hint at it, but I mean, but yeah, you knew I was going to say it, but yes, Ikefube's score for this film, and the funny thing is, this film is a Salaman comedy. You know, it's not something to be taken seriously, but Ikefube nonetheless brought a very dramatic and energizing score that to today, my favorite cue in this film is the transportation of Kong sequence. I love that score to death. I love it so much. And the funny thing is, when I first started buying the different tokusatsu films on DVD in the late 2000s, and I watched the original Japanese trailers, you would hear that particular score played in the trailers. But I was almost like, it's like, where's that from? That's a good score. I love that score. And funny thing is, I thought that score was in Battle in Outer Space. I thought that was for that. But when I did buy the soundtrack to King Kong versus Godzilla, and I was listening to the music for it because, like I said, I want to hear the actual score, not the so-called American cut music. When I heard the American, when I heard the Japanese cut, it's like the Japanese original music. I was like, wow, this is some powerful, and it's not. And it opens way that I didn't think it was going to open the way it did. So it's like, okay, that's different. That's different than I thought it was. But when I got to the transportation of Kong cue, I was like, that's where this is from? That's where this cue is from? It's from this film? Of all films? I mean, because when I first saw King Kong versus Godzilla, it was back in 81, I think 81 or 82. No, 80. And go figure, nearly 30 years later, I would hear the score, hear this the key. And I was like, you mean to tell me after all this time, that's where that particular piece of music comes from? It's coming from this movie? I was like, whoa, that is unbelievable. That is mind blowing. It's like, phew, never imagined that. So after that, it's like you hear the music in this film and everything, and it's like, huh. And with that, knowing that I heard that and everything, that's when I realized, like, no, this is my favorite. This is one of the most effective Ikefube scores ever for me. And even though, and in fact, I'll just do one better. I'll give an honorary shout out to Ghidorah, the 1954 film score for Ikefube, because that deserves a shout out. But unfortunately, it's not on this list, and I'm sorry. Not sorry, but no, but that score is forever burnt in my brain as my favorite, and I love it. And but that just shows that even something that he did that was tragic, he can do something that's what it is, but still be more memorable or more powerful than his original Godzilla score. Says something. It says a lot. And I think that's something I feel some people probably need to realize. That if you can outrun yourself score wise or anything in life, that's telling you a lot. And that's why I feel like Ikifube, you know, hey, you are you are one of the most brilliant of composers, sir. And I feel that you deserve the honorary of everything in terms of what you've done, what he's done. And this shows here that people like me, people like Kevin, people like you, like anyone in the Godzilla community, this shows how we appreciate good, just good artistry in any field, whether it be film, whether it be television, whether it be books, whether it be sports, whether it be whatever. We appreciate it because of the dedication and way of how you treat something as something special like that. And that's what it all boils down to. And this is why number one, King Kong vs. Godzilla is number one. So there you go. And like I say again, I'm not ashamed. I actually enjoyed knowing that I put that at number one because I love that score. I love that so much, you know. But that is the end of my top 10 film scores for one particular composer, Mr. Ikifube, Mr. Ikifube. You know, and this will not be the last time that I'll discuss top film scores for this particular piece because I'm going to do many more down the line in the future, and hopefully people who watch will garner up and say, "Oh wow, that's what we're talking about. That's what," and hopefully when I get a couple of people, if they'd like to join up, they can give their all top feel of what they feel is their favorite scores, and what piece of score that a famous composer did is their favorite. But for right now, what I got coming up, like tomorrow, I'm going to be joining up with DJ Anubis, and we're going to be discussing a film that I feel doesn't get talked about that much, but at the same time, I feel it's a homage to previous films of old. It's 2007's Grindhouse, and surprisingly, even though it's actually two films in one, I look at the film in whole as one film because it's two films in there and a couple of fake trailers. But it's a brilliant film, and we're going to be discussing that together. And come Thursday, later that week, I will be joined up with a couple of people where we're going to be discussing something about and talking about something influential. We're going to talk about who are the top 10, in our opinion, top 10 most influential film directors of all time. It could be, Christopher Nolan. It could be John Ford. Hell, it could be Mr. Kurosawa. The point is, who is your top influential film director of all time in your opinion? And I'm going to have a panel discussing that, and hopefully people watching this will come and join and see it and enjoy it for what it is. And I'm supposed to be, in fact, come Friday, I'm supposed to join up with Artistic Lizard Productions, and we're going to be discussing the 25th anniversary of The Mummy Returns. And I'm thinking I might be able to join up with Kevin Lambert on the Rock. In fact, I think I know it will be able to. The Rocky, if it's the first one, no, if the second one, all of them. The Rocky series, and discussing Rocky in depth, and talking about how those films, influenced, and made Sylvester Stallone a star on Kevin Lambert's channel, how he became a star, or whatever, because of these films. And come that Saturday, next Saturday, I will be discussing in not so much small feature. I will be with Kevin Lambert and hopefully the professor Daniel Miller, where we'll be discussing. Uh, oh yeah, right. I knew it. Yeah, I do too. But I mean, uh, we're going to be discussing the 70th anniversary of a legendary sci-fi film, which is one of the most influential sci-fi films of all time, Forbidden Planet. You know, starring that wacky, Leslie Nielsen before he became wacky. You know, okay, cool. And I don't know what else I'll have coming up. I think that's all I'll have for this month because I'm going to round up this month with those particular um, podcasts and for what I'm joining up with. But that's pretty much it. That's all it is. That's a done deal. So I thank everyone. Neenan, Kevin. Thank you guys. Y'all gave me some great material to work on, and that helped me out a lot, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much, and everybody who's joined to watch and was down to discuss whatever and well, along with science, we'll talk about like I say, but and I'll say this: if you're willing to, I'll put it like this, Neenan, if you are not busy that day, that Thursday, because it's 2 o'clock my time. But if you're able to, maybe you can join us, me and Kevin and some others, in discussing who's your most influential, your top 10 influential directors. If you like, if you like to do that, that would be great. Well, it look, I can't promise that. I'm gonna tell you this one right now. This is one thing you have to realize. I'll probably mention, but I'm that's no. It's that's why I say if you would like to come on here and discuss it, that would be great. You can come on and be a part of it. Be a part of the panel. That'd be wonderful. You know, it's on the 20. It's on the 26th. It's on the 26th of it's Thursday. So it's 26th of Thursday. Yeah, 26th. Let me see. Let me see what that's. Well, like I say, it's on the 26th of when I'm going to do it. That's what I'm saying. So if you can join up and be in discussion with us, that would be great. I mean, but I don't understand if you can't make it. Life is what it is, and you can't. Yeah, it's on the 26th at 2:30 my time. Oh, okay. Oh, uh, great. Hey, that look. Hey, great. Great. Okay, well, people. Hey, special announcement. My German brother, Mr. Neenan, will be joining us and others talking about top um, influential film directors on the 26th. Great. Hey, don't worry, brother. All you got to do is I'm gonna shoot the link in the group. You can join up. Bam. This is gonna be special. I'm already hyped now. Okay, I'm hyped. This is great. See, miracles happen all the time. So, but with that being said, everyone who's been watching, thank you for joining me. This was wow. This is a bigger delight than I thought it would be. Thank you for joining me on this little journey. And now that it's done, it lets me know like, hey, something even more special is in the works coming your way and my way also. So until then, as I always say in closing, y'all take care. Y'all please be patient. And always, and I'm gonna say it like I usually said it before when I originally did it. Keep the kaiju love alive. Y'all be good.